Okay, this is the video lesson for Algebra 2, Section 5.2, Polynomials, Linear Factors, and Zeros. So, we're going to write polynomial functions from its zeros and analyze factored forms of polynomials. So we are now going to factor higher degree polynomials. This one is a third degree polynomial. So the first thing you remember when you look at to factor is to factor out the GCF. So here you can see the GCF is x, right? This is just a 1, so none of the numbers, and they each have an x. So let's pull the x out, and then divide this one by x. You're left with x squared. That's just 2x minus 2x, and then minus 15. Okay, then you need to also see if you can factor what's left. So we can try we can see that this is a 1 here, so we can do our diamond. Two numbers that multiply to 1 times negative 15 is negative 15, and adds to negative 2 would be negative 5 and 3. So that means this is x times x minus 5 times x plus 3. And that is the factored form of this polynomial. Okay, so try that for this next one here. Press pause and then check back for the solution. Okay, so this one you can see there's only an x that can come out, and then what you're left with can be factored to x minus 4 times x plus 3. Hopefully you got that. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to do finding zeros of a polynomial function. So when it's in its factored form, it makes it pretty easy to find zeros, because remember the zero product property means anything times a zero is a zero. So since these are three factors, this factor times this factor times this factor, if any one of these three is zero, then your function is zero. So those are the zeros. So just like we did when we had a second degree polynomial and we factored it, you can just set each factor to 0 to find its zeros and then solve. So this is going to be x equals negative 2, this is x equals 1, and this is x equals 3. You can also think of it too, you don't even have to set this up, just like what number makes this 0? Negative 2. What number makes this 0? 1. What number makes this 0? 3. And there are your zeros. So not too bad. Try it with this one here. Check back, press pause, do it yourself, and then check back for the solution. Okay, hopefully you got these three, right? 0. This one, don't forget this one. This one actually I think makes it the hardest, because you don't think about this one. Like this one, it's pretty easy. What number makes this 0? 3. What number makes this 0? Negative 5. You don't think to do this one maybe because it doesn't have the parentheses. It looks a little different, but what number makes this 0? Well, just 0, right? So 0 is a 0. Oh, they want us to graph the function. Okay, let's go back and graph it. Yeah, forgot about that. Let's go back to this one then. Okay, so what we know about polynomial functions, right, are the end behavior that we learned in the last lesson, right? So we know that this function is odd. We could multiply it all out, but x times x times x is going to be your first term, and that's going to be x cubed. So we know it's a positive 1 on the x cubed. So this is an odd function, and its coefficient is positive. So that means it's going to go from down to up. Okay, and so we know we have a 0 at negative 2. We know we have a 0 at 1, and we know we have a 0 at 3. So we know it's going to look something like this. Okay, but we can also figure out what this number is, and we can figure out what this number is. We can find out this number by multiplying the last three terms. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. So this is actually going to be, let's erase all, erase all this. This is going to be positive 6. So it's going to go up to there. And then here, this is 2, right? So you can just plug in 2 here. Y equals 2 plus 2, 2 minus 1, 2 minus 3. So this is 4 times 1 times negative 1. So this is going to be negative 4. So we have the point 2, negative 4. And that's going to be about here. And so we can do our graph. It's going to start down, go up. Oops, it's probably a little steeper than that. I'm really bad at this, sorry. Okay. There you go. So you kind of just need to figure out, and maybe, you know, we could also have plugged in -1 to get this exact point too, but it doesn't have to be that perfect. It probably goes up like that and then comes down and then down like that. Okay? All right, so now you have the zeros for this one. Press pause and try it on your own, graphing it. Okay, and then check back for the solution. Okay, so here it should look something like this. I picked 2. I think it would make more sense to pick in between the 2 numbers, but this would be a fraction. So just to give an idea of how high it's going up, that doesn't mean it's the maximum there. And then this I picked 2 to do this point here, so you can just get an idea. It's not perfect. I actually think it might be worth our time right now just to look at these in Desmos as a check. And I think that will let us see how close we got. Okay, so here, if you look up here, this is the graph, the actual graph of this function. So we got it mostly right, the important parts here. But you can see that the highest point up here, I didn't even pick it. It's like just a decimal like this. So I was right with this one. It kind of goes up and then back down. And then look, this one's not actually 2, it's 2.12, but we got it close enough. Don't worry when you do these. Okay, and then this one, you can see we got mostly right. I picked -2. The height was actually at -3, so like here would have been up to 36. So I got it mostly right. Up, and then the 30, then crossed here at 0, and then just close to the 2 is the minimum here. So we got that right, and then back up. So you can always use Desmos to check. Okay, and then the last part of this lesson. It's a little bit annoying, but not too difficult to do with the table method. So here it says, what is a cubic polynomial function in standard form with these zeros? So we're basically going to do what we just did, but backwards. We'll have to graph. So here, and if -2 is a 0, that means one of the factors is x minus -2, which is x plus 2. If 2 is a 0, then one of the factors is x minus 2. And then if 3 is another 0, then x minus 3 would be a factor, right? So this is basically taking the opposite, right? What factor makes 3 a 0? Means 3, it makes it 0. So you subtract that number from your x and make it a factor. So this would be the polynomial, cubic polynomial function. And then they put in this part about being in standard form. So this is not standard form. In order to get it in standard form, you need to multiply it all out. So this is where it gets a little bit annoying. But here, if we just do FOIL on this, this becomes x squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 4. So these go away. This becomes x squared minus 4. And then we just multiply that by x minus 3. We could actually FOIL this since it's a binomial. So we could do x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x and then plus 12. And then that is a cubic polynomial function that has these 3 zeros. Okay, not too bad, but the one that they want you to do on your own, I guess it's also me if I put it on here, they want a quartic polynomial function, so that means 4. So you're going to have to give your 4 factors and then multiply it all out. And there's probably going to be one that isn't a binomial here, and you're going to have to use a table. Remember when you do like something like this times something like this, you can do a table instead of FOIL, just so that you don't miss a term. So you might want to try the table method with this. So press pause and try this on your own, and then check back for the solution. Okay, so if you see here, since this 0 shows up twice, the multiplicity of -2 is 2. That means you write x plus 2 twice, so we just square that. And then x minus 2 and x minus 3 are factors. So if we multiply this out, we get, if you know the shortcut for this, that's you double this times this, and then you square that. And then I did FOIL on this to get this. And then I multiplied this times this down in the table. So there are actually 9 terms, but with this, a lot of times the diagonals are like terms. So here, the x to the 4th, then combining these, minus x to the 3rd. And then -20x squared, and then plus 10 is a -10x squared. Minus 20x plus 24x is a 4x, and then 24. So this is a quartic polynomial function in standard form with those 4 zeros. And that's it. Here's your practice. Enjoy.